Weekend Crime Recap. By Crime Watch MN. Former St. Paul Police Chief Todd Axtell's nephew was charged with murder after he allegedly beat a convicted sex offender to death and then finished him off with a moose antler. Overdoses have become so commonplace on transit and at stations that staff were told to assume someone is overdosing if they appear to be asleep. Fridley police responded Thursday to a report of a shooting just after 11 a.m. in the parking lot of Cub Foods at 250 57th Avenue Northeast. Responding officers found a male down in the parking lot. The Anoka County Sheriff's Office later released a statement confirming the male had been pronounced deceased at the hospital. The medical examiner has since identified the decedent as Devin Michael Adams, age 27, of Hugo, Minn. The ACSO released an update on Monday stating that there still had been no arrests, and they are continuing to investigate. Court records show that Adams had been scheduled for jury trial on Monday, March 13 in Wright County District Court related to charges of domestic assault, second- and third-degree assault, and threats of violence. Adams was charged in the case in October after he allegedly threw boiling water in the face of his significant other and also threatened to kill her and commit suicide. The ACSO offered no information on whether the pending case is related in any way to Adams' death. Champlin police responded to a report of an armed robbery on Thursday near Highway 169 and 120th Avenue North, according to dispatch audio. Champlin police provided an update over the weekend stating that the incident had been a carjacking at knife point, and there had been no injuries in the incident. They said the suspect was apprehended a few hours later by the Minnesota State Patrol outside of Albert Lea, Minn. Champlin police said, "The suspect is not local to our area, and he appeared to be passing through by looking for a vehicle to get himself to Colorado." Jail and court records show Zachary Thomas Langer, 27, of Lexington, Minn. was arrested and charged on Friday with first-degree aggravated robbery. Charges say Langer approached a man as he exited Arby's and demanded the victim's keys, wallet and phone while holding a knife toward the victim. Police were able to track the Kia via GPS. Langer admitted upon arrest that he had committed the robbery and was planning to drive to Colorado. Court records show Langer was just convicted in Anoka County District Court last Wednesday, the day prior to the robbery, on a gross misdemeanor charge of obstructing the legal process by interfering with a police officer. Langer's one-year sentence was stayed by Judge Kathleen R. Guerin, and he was released with credit for 35 days spent in jail and was placed on unsupervised probation for a term of 2 years. Langer has another recent conviction from October on felony first-degree damage to property, as well as a 2018 conviction on felony threats of violence. Langer received stays of imposition on both felony convictions and was placed on probation by Judges Jenny Walker Jasper and Bethany A. Fountain Lindbergh, respectively. Lindbergh has since been appointed in Anoka County to Chief Deputy County Attorney. Langer remains in custody in Hennepin County Jail on $100,000 bail. Alan Denzel Oliver Hall, 28, of Chicago, Illinois, was sentenced in federal court Thursday to 70 months in prison for illegal possession of a firearm related to a June 2022 incident in St. Paul. Charges in the case said St. Paul police responded to a report of a domestic incident on the 1500 block of Timberlake Road around 3:20 p.m. that day. The officer encountered Oliver Hall, who attempted to get the officer to turn his back to him so that he could hide a gun, a stolen American tactical 9mm pistol with an extended magazine. The officer saw the gun and tried to remove it from Oliver Hall's possession. During the struggle, the firearm was pointed toward the officer. Eventually, the officer was able to disarm Oliver Hall. Oliver Hall has multiple prior felony convictions in Cook County, Ill, which makes him ineligible under federal law from possessing firearms or ammunition at any time, U.S. Attorney Andrew Lugar said. Oliver Hall's prison sentence will be followed by 2 years of supervised release. A Minnesota corrections sergeant was injured Thursday at the Stillwater Correctional Facility in an unprovoked attack that marked the 7th corrections officer injured in just days last week, according to a statement by the Minnesota Department of Corrections. The cases will be submitted to the Washington County Attorney's Office for review on possible charges. A total of 6 corrections officers injured in just 4 days. Info on the assaults. Liz Collin, at Liz Collin, March 9, 2023. On Friday, Dominique Antoine Jefferson, 36, was charged with first-degree assault related to a January attack on a female corrections sergeant at Oak Park Heights that left her partially blinded. Patch reported that Jefferson has been incarcerated since 2005 following his conviction of aiding and abetting second-degree murder. The January assault occurred after Jefferson requested to speak to a member of the crisis intervention team. A brief exchange of words took place between Jefferson and the sergeant, and he was ordered back to his cell. He refused, and the assault ensued, wherein charges say Jefferson punched the sergeant with a closed fist. She was transported to the hospital with significant damage to her right eye and several facial fractures. Following several surgeries, she has been left with permanent vision loss. Minneapolis police engaged in a pursuit of a shooting suspect Friday morning after the suspect vehicle rammed a squad in North Minneapolis, according to dispatch audio. The pursuit quickly crossed into northeast Minneapolis over the Lowry Bridge, during which an officer aired that the suspect was wanted in a homicide. 6 minutes after the pursuit started, the suspect vehicle crashed near 2nd and University Avenue Southeast while headed toward the University of Minnesota campus area. Video clips submitted to CrimeWatch showed the immediate aftermath of the crash, where one of the suspects was dragged out of the vehicle by police at gunpoint. We've obtained a couple more video clips of this morning's arrest of a reported homicide suspect following a crash of the suspect vehicle during a pursuit that ended near 2nd Avenue SE and University Avenue SE. CrimeWatch MPLs, at CrimeWatch Minneapolis, March 11, 2023. Officers aired during the incident that the driver was trapped in the vehicle and that police also found a gun in the car. The suspected target was also wearing an empty holster, they aired. At least 3 EMS rigs were requested to the scene. 4 people were eventually transported to the hospital under police escort, according to dispatch audio. Police later told media that the vehicle had been reported stolen and that the driver sustained potentially life-threatening injuries in the crash. Jail and court records show that Norman Wesley Parker, 35, of North Minneapolis was the arrested shooting suspect. Parker was charged on Monday in Hennepin County District Court in 2 separate cases, including 2 counts of attempted murder, drive-by shooting, and felon in possession of a firearm in one case involving a January 4, 2023 shooting in North Minneapolis. Charges in the case say Parker pulled up to a vehicle containing 2 females, at least one of them known to him, and opened fire on the vehicle at West Broadway and Fremont Avenues North. The passenger was injured with multiple gunshots to her lower body and was privately transported to Abbott Hospital. The driver of the vehicle later told police she knew Parker as shooter and had interacted with him inside a residence earlier in the evening, while the victim, who was later shot, had remained in the vehicle. Charges say the gun found in the vehicle following the pursuit on Friday was ballistically tested and was determined to be the gun used in the January 4 shooting, as casings from the test fire matched casings found at the drive-by shooting scene. Parker is charged in a second case with being a felon in possession of a firearm or ammunition in connection to Friday's pursuit incident. Charges reiterate that Parker had a live round of ammunition on his person as well as the empty gun holster. Parker is prohibited from possessing firearms due to several prior felony convictions, including being a felon in possession of a firearm, narcotics, domestic assault, and first-degree aggravated robbery. Parker remained in custody on Monday on $1 million bail in the attempted murder case. He is scheduled to make his first court appearance in both new cases on Tuesday. 2 people were found deceased with apparent gunshot wounds Friday inside an Andover home on the 14,900 block of Osage Street Northwest. The Anoka County Sheriff's Office provided an update on Monday identifying the decedents as Jennifer Young, 36, and Fuher, 40, both of Andover. They said indications show that Mr. Her fatally shot Ms. Young before taking his own life. The incident remains under investigation by the Midwest Medical Examiner's Office and Anoka County Sheriff's Office. Gunfire erupted in Brooklyn Center on Friday evening at the Shingle Creek Crossing shopping area during the dinner hour. The shopping mall is located near Bass Lake Road and Xerxes Avenue North. Initial reports indicated that about 30 rounds had been fired, but there had been no reports of injuries. Brooklyn Center Police provided an update Sunday stating that their investigation led them to believe that 2 groups of 2 people may have recognized each other at a fast food restaurant at the location. One group left the restaurant without ordering and got into a vehicle. When the other group exited the restaurant, gunfire erupted in front of the business. The suspects and intended victims both left the scene, BCPD said. BCPD said a business and several vehicles were struck by gunfire in the incident, but there were no reported injuries. Police recovered 21 spent bullet casings from the scene. BCPD continues to investigate the incident. Inver Grove Heights Police reported Friday that a Level 3 sex offender has moved into their area. Herbert Carl Hubbard, 53, recently registered his address in the vicinity Audubon Avenue, which is the location of several clusters of apartment buildings near Schmidt Lake. Hubbard is described as a husky black male, 5'9", and 255 pounds. Hubbard has 1999 convictions on 2 counts of third-degree criminal sexual conduct. Department of Corrections information says that Hubbard has a history of engaging in sexual contact with known female teenagers. Contact included sexual touching and penetration. Hubbard also exposed himself to one female, took advantage of one female's vulnerable state, and used physical force with another to gain compliance. Hubbard also has several other felony convictions including check forgery, failure to comply with predatory offender registration, first-degree damage to property, and robbery. A community meeting is scheduled for March 15, 2023, at 6 p.m. at the Inver Grove Heights City Hall Council Chambers to discuss Mr. Hubbard's transition into the community. Location: 8150 Barber Avenue. Hubbard was last released from incarceration in December 2020 and is expired from court supervision. He is not wanted by police at this time. Top photo. Brooklyn Center Police reported that while responding to a trespassing report Saturday night at a hotel, they seized 3 guns and arrested 4 people, one of whom was wearing an electronic monitoring ankle bracelet wrapped in ham and tinfoil. Staff from the hotel, located on the 2500 block of Freeway Boulevard, merely wanted 4 young men removed from the premise as they refused to leave for approximately 2 hours. As officers arrived on scene, the 4 young men were observed exiting the building and appeared to be evading police. The 4 initially did not comply with police demands to stop but eventually complied. While officers tried to identify the 4 young men to trespass them, one of the young men lied about his name, thus prolonging the investigation, police said. The young men continued to show interest in a certain area near the building where they had originally exited and kept looking back and asking if they could go back there. One officer found it odd that they were highly interested in that specific direction, so he walked over to the area and discovered a freshly discarded handgun that had been modified to fire automatically. All 4 were then taken into custody and arrested without incident. 3 were juveniles and 1 was an adult. Police found an additional 2 guns next to the original gun, one of which was a pistol that had been illegally modified with a foregrip attachment, which police said is classified and regulated by the ATF as an AOW or any other weapon. The 3rd pistol was located when detaining one of the involved parties who had made his way back into the building where he had just been trespassed. During the arrest process, police discovered that one juvenile was wearing an ankle bracelet, electronic home monitoring ordered by a judge. The ankle bracelet was wrapped in tin foil with a slice of deli fresh ham under the tin foil, police said. BCPD said they were proud to have recovered the ghost guns, which consisted of P80 lower receivers with no serial numbers. All the guns had 30-plus round extended magazines and 2 of them had illegal modifications. BCPD also said they were grateful the incident ended without violence and joked that the only loss was a slice of ham. St. Paul marked its 6th homicide of the year on Saturday. Police responded on a report of an assault just after 7:15 p.m. and found a man who had an apparent stab wound to the chest sitting near his vehicle at Marshall Avenue and Arundel Street. Police said in a statement that the man later died at the hospital as a result of his injuries. Police said they located the crime scene on Sunday at a residence on the 700 block of Dayton Avenue and arrested 51-year-old Jacqueline Olivia Van in connection to the homicide. Formal charging information was not yet available at the time of this report. The Blaine Police Department asked for the public's help on Sunday in identifying a male related to an ongoing investigation. The nature of the investigation and the person's relationship to it were not specified by Blaine PD. Anyone with any information is asked to contact Detective Mike Summer at zfbzzre@oyanvarza.tb or 763-717-2741 and reference case number 23047983. Brooklyn Park Police reported that they responded to a shots-fired incident that took place Sunday about 10:15 p.m. on the 7500 block of North Meadowood Court. On the 12th of March 23 around 10:15 p.m., officers responded to the 7500 block of N Meadowood Court North for reports of several shots heard. Officers located evidence in street indicating several shots were fired. Officers conducted interviews with residents in the area and found no vehicles, residences, or persons were struck from the gunfire. The incident remains under investigation. Over the weekend, Crime Watch obtained a copy of a bulletin reportedly sent out by Metro Transit administrators to all staff on Friday in which they warned, due to a recent rise in overdoses, staff should not assume individuals who appear to be asleep or not in need of immediate medical attention. In essence, they stated that overdoses have become so commonplace on transit and at stations that staff should just assume someone is overdosing if they appear to be asleep. Exclusive. We obtained a copy of a bulletin sent by Metro Transit on Friday to all staff with the subject: Passenger welfare checks. Due to a recent rise in overdoses, staff should not assume individuals who appear to be asleep or not in need of immediate medical attention. Crime Watch MPLs, at CrimeWatch Minneapolis, March 12, 2023. Crime Watch has repeatedly documented reports of overdoses, as well as crimes, on transit and at stations, including 4 in Minneapolis in a 90-minute period Wednesday to Thursday last week. The bulletin to Metro Transit staff gives tips on how to identify if someone may be overdosing and recommends that staff immediately contact the Transit Control Center if they have concerns about an individual. The bulletin also attempts to minimize the concern staff may have about coming into contact with odors produced by narcotics or chemicals being used on transit or at stations by claiming that odors have very low concentrations of narcotics, chemicals. They tell operators in the bulletin to open a window if they believe smoke or odors are causing them or others to have health issues. Around Minnesota. Levi Axtell, 27, of Cook County, Minnesota, was charged with second-degree murder Friday after allegedly beating to death previously convicted sex offender Lawrence Scully, 77, in Grand Marais on March 8. Charges say Axtell told police he used a shovel and hit Scully 15 to 20 times before he finished him off with a moose antler. Axtell was covered in blood when he turned himself in at the sheriff's office. Reports say Axtell had obtained a restraining order in 2018 against Scully on behalf of his then 22-month-old daughter who he believed Scully was stalking along with other children near their daycare. Axtell is the nephew of former St. Paul Police Chief Todd Axtell. Wright County and Big Lake law enforcement collaborated on Sunday to apprehend a wanted suspect who engaged Wright County law enforcement in a pursuit, Big Lake PD reported. The apprehension played out in the area of Highway 25 and Harrison Drive where the suspect vehicle had crashed, and a brief perimeter search ensued. Information about the arrested party was not immediately available. Minnesota Crime Watch and Information publishes news, info and commentary about crime, public safety and livability issues in Minneapolis, the Twin Cities and Greater Minnesota.